I'm starting out with the Vanguard newspaper. I see that story spread across the front page. Huge. Worsening insecurity. Kidnappers abduct pupils. Teachers demand 30 million naira. Plenty of riders there. It's not a pleasant story, but this matter of insecurity and kidnapping needs to be nipped in the bud. And a couple of people are speaking there. Banji, Senate President, and the governor of Oyo State. Even the president has also spoken as well. The Speaker of the House of Representatives also said a couple of things where you see those riders. You go to page 5 to see more details, and then you see that other story. 4.6 billion naira Office of the National Security Advisor ONSA fund shared to organize prayers against insecurity. That's coming from an EFCC witness. There's another story on the front page there, following that other big one. You get more details of that on page 6. That's it from the Vanguard.
The Nigerian Tribune this morning is also trailing that same story. Outrage over killing of Ekiti monarchs, kidnap of pupils. And guess what? Abductors demand 10 million naira each for victims. Tinubu, Olubado, Southwest speakers, Fayemi Igboho, Gani Adams, others react. Reps call for rescue of abducted students, teachers, as spokesperson whips over killing of traditional rulers. Senate summons security chiefs again. Find the details on pages 11 and 29 of the Nigerian Tribune. That's the lead story of the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
And we'll go on to this Nigeria. And they're talking about 20 years after, they're leading that story, 20 years after this Nigeria, Daily Trust rather, Daily Trust. Oh, sit there. 20 years after, 26 states failed to implement new pension scheme. That's what Daily Trust is leading with. FG, private sector employees benefiting. Experts urge governors to enroll workers. Pension fund assets hit 17 trillion naira. That's what they're leading with. And the details you'll find on page 4. And that's it from Daily Trust.
Of this Nigeria, which was initially put on your screen, 30,000 small arms, light weapons, ammunition recovered in 23 years. Remember that story? Anyway, we'll talk about that later, perhaps, because the former head of state, Abdusalami Abubakar, had also said something similar some years, not too long ago, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. Look at the riders. Proliferation of firearms, major catalyst for insecurity, says coordinator of Weapon Control Center. Adopt new strategy, reps task president. Senate summons security chiefs to appear next week. That story is the lead of this Nigeria, and you'll find the details of it on page 4.
The Guardian newspaper is next. 7 states on Niger borderline. Bandits, smugglers reign as sanctions hardship ground communities. That's coming from the Guardian. See the graphic representation there on the front page of the Guardian. Picture of Nigeria's president and the head of state in Niger, just beside the map. Details you'll find on page 6. And one other story here, Nigeria ranks 145 on the Graft Index, scores 25 out of 100 points. You find that on page 3.
And look at the front
from the
page.
Guardian.
Yes, look at the front page of the Nigerian Observer today. Edo grows IGR by 17 billion naira as Obaseki reforms bear fruits. That's the lead story of the Nigerian Observer this morning. Look at the riders. Formal sector leads as figures reflect over 40% growth from 2022. EIRS boss links revenue growth to governor's investment drive and others. That story is on the front page, and it continues on the inside pages of the Nigerian Observer today.
New Telegraph is the next one, and they have a different story, but tied to that security matter. Abbas, insecurity threatening Nigeria's peace stability, is on page 2, 3, and 5. Reps to convene National Security Summit as Senate meets service chiefs next week. And then below that, price of 12.5 kg of gas rose by 1,000 naira within a month. That's according to an investigation. And you get details of that on page 4. Then this quick one, Airlines claims $100 million deal with banks as CBN clears $64.4 million verified backlog. That's it from the New Telegraph.
The lead story of the Daily Independent newspaper is talking about that same trapped funds of the airlines this morning. Foreign airlines fault CBN, say $650 million trapped funds unpaid. Meanwhile, of course, the CBN said verified claims have been cleared. So, hey, get more details of that story on the front page, and it continues on the inside pages of the Daily Independent newspaper this morning.
Well, let's see what the Business Day is leading with as Naira continues free fall. CBN offers promises. Someone will say, is it promises that we're going to eat? Experts prefer ways to tackle forex backlog. Naira sinks to 1,482.57 to the dollar on official market. That's Business Day. And that's it there for Business Day.
Blueprint newspaper is leading with this story. Be tough on decisions over insecurity. Abbas tells Tinubu. Senate summons service chiefs again. Meets president next week. Troops rescue 20 kidnapped victims. Kill 2 bandits in Zamfara. Reps probe plateau killings. Seek civilian JTF. That story continues on page 6 of Blueprint newspaper this morning. Nyota.
The Blueprint, that's the one I took there. Nigerian Tribune, outrage over killing of Ekiti monarchs, kidnap of pupils. That story continues on page 11 and page 29. Abductors demand 10 million naira each for victims.
Okay, well, look at the
forex backlog. CBN pays additional $64.4 million. Again, that's another story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. And Labour proposes $300 living wage for Nigerian workers. We'll get more details on that, but that's it from the Nigerian Tribune.
News Direct this morning. Kidnapping, killings increase. Call for state policing heightens. That story is on page 2. Tinubu Oyebanji condemn killings, order rescue of kidnapped victims. Atiku calls for stronger leadership, mocks Tinubu as tourist in chief. A Senate summons security chiefs. That story is on page 2 of the Nigerian News Direct this morning. This morning, that one.
Go back to the Vanguard, that story there, worsening insecurity. Kidnappers abduct pupils, teachers demand 30 million naira. Some other papers are reporting 100 million naira. But the writers, the police arrest 5 kidnapped suspects. Tinubu orders immediate rescue of students, monarchs, killers arrested. Nothing will be spared to rescue pupils, teachers, Oyebanji. We must ensure Nigerians sleep with 2 eyes closed. That's coming from Akpabio. We're deeply troubled. Speaker Abbas cries to Tinubu. Reps to convene security summit task Tinubu on security architecture. State police will tackle insecurity challenges. Coming from Makinde, governor of Oyo State. This story on security is reported in many of the dailies, and it's a matter that needs to be looked at real critically and real quickly. something decisive needs to be done. Enough of the, some will say, enough of the dialogue back and forth or conversations or talk shops. Action needs to be taken. There are some who believe that the location of these abductors, of these perpetrators, is known to the security agencies. And the question is, why are they not taking the kind of decisive action that will nip this in the bud or end it once and for all? That's a question many people continue to ask. I don't know if you have any answers.
Well, I don't have answers, just another poser, Nyota. Every action that I think the federal government has taken about this insecurity matter is pointing in one direction or the other. For instance, Nigerians went through hell trying to link their NIN to SIM over the years. And guess what we were told? It is with the intention to ensure that people are not able to call, the kidnappers are not able to call anyone, so that whenever they call, they will be able to track the call. One of the excuses that someone gave us recently is that now they don't use regular calls, they now use WhatsApp call. Well, really? Is that the excuse? Anyway, let me believe that that didn't come from the official quarters of our security apparatus. Number two is the fact that we continue to talk about the fact that the first line of defense has been broken. Honorable Rotimi was speaking on the floor of the House. It's on our website and on our Twitter and our X handle. And he was crying, talking about the fact that 2 monarchs were killed. Monarchs are part of the Security Council of any local governments. The chairman, the executive council of the local government system, the monarchs, prominent monarchs in the local government area, community development associations, these are the people that form the security apparatus of any local government environment. Local government council, they have their own security team, the security meeting. They are the ones that can say, this is a stranger, this is not a stranger in this particular community. For this kind of thing to happen, someone must know about it. I don't see how anyone will convince me that our intelligence community in Nigeria, security intelligence community in Nigeria, is so bereft of ideas that they don't know that this is going to happen. The question is, when the information came, what was done about it? That question needs to be asked all of the time. So when we're talking about things happening in Borno, happening in Plateau, happening in Kaduna, we keep hearing from prominent Nigerians, Nyota, that certain powerful Nigerians are behind some things, certain prominent Nigerians are behind some things. Come on, are they more powerful than Nigeria itself? Are they more powerful? Are they above the law? Are they beyond the law? Can they not do anything to arrest this situation? We keep hearing, we heard from I think it was the CDS, who was telling us that there is a role for security, military security, there is a role for politics in this whole conversation. Okay, let's say that the military is doing its own. What is the political solution that we're supposed to be getting that we're not getting? So those conversations, Nyota, need to be had. We need to face ourselves and tell ourselves the very, very ugly truth. Because at the end of the day, it's the ordinary Nigerians that are cannon fodder, and that cannot be acceptable to anyone. It cannot be. What are the state governments doing? That's my take on that matter, Nyota.
Again, as you said, it's not acceptable to anyone. It's not acceptable to me. It's not acceptable to you. It's not acceptable to Nigerians. The president of the Senate talks about the fact that they need to do everything to ensure Nigerians sleep with their 2 eyes closed. That is what they were voted for, to ensure that that happens. And the Constitution gives them that mandate to ensure the welfare and security of every citizen and resident of this country, Nigeria. But another matter also that comes to play is a story also there on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. 4.6 billion naira was diverted in the office of the National Security Advisor under Dasuki and shared to organize prayers against insecurity. So, yeah, then another avenue to fight insecurity is prayers. Well, someone says if you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, then you're a fool. And I don't think that Nigerians are fools to expect that we're doing the same thing and expecting different results. So let's put on the thinking cap and move beyond this. That's it from the Vanguard.
One other story that catches my attention is the issue of the minimum wage on the front page of the Nigerian Observer. The federal government has inaugurated a committee on minimum wage. That is the news. That's what is right there. A 37-member tripartite committee to comprise federal government agencies, agents of the federal government, state government, and organized labor, as well as the private sector. Okay, fine. What the president promised is not minimum wage, he promised a living wage. So right now, we understand that some states are literally struggling to pay the minimum wage of 30,000 naira that we have now. What is going to be different now, I guess we'll have to wait to see. Civil society organizations have their own role as well. Nigerians should be asking questions in the event that the federal government indeed makes good its promise. Where is the revenue going to come from? At a time when Nigerians themselves, we Nigerians, are crying that the federal government is borrowing too much money, and then here we are asking for, definitely people have to make more money. I don't know, I don't know if we have a consensus among ourselves about the things that we need to do, because certainly people need to earn more, because things are a lot more expensive everywhere now. The dollar at 1,500 naira as of yesterday. This morning we hear is a tiny bit lower, 1,400 and something. But hey, at the end of the day, every Nigerian goes to the same market. The rich don't have a market different from the poor. That's just the way it is. Whether it's in an air-conditioned supermarket or one at Mile 12 for Sabongeri in Kano, it's the same market that everyone goes to. So let's just ask ourselves, in the event that the federal government indeed says, okay, this is what it's going to do, how is it going to benefit the people on the long run? Will the prices of house rent, the prices of foodstuff, the prices of transportation, every other thing, will it go up as the living wage that the president has promised also go up? A whole load of conversations around that one, and I hope it is part of what the committee of the federal government will be looking at when they make up their minds.
The matter of minimum wage or no minimum wage or living wage, that conversation, whether it should be minimum wage or living wage, is something that we've been talking about over and over again. Labour is now proposing proposing about $300 for a living wage. Is it feasible? Can it be paid? And some will argue that it may never work unless you allow the state to begin to mine their resources and use their resources. Where the states are self-sufficient, then they can begin to look at how to fund their workforce. Not everything coming from one point where the money is gathered into one person and then it's shared. It may never work because we've had in the studio a couple of times that someone from the Debt Management Office talked to us about one of the issues Nigeria has, or the Budget Office, is a question of revenue. The revenue challenge is there. It's a constant. It's been there for a while. Nigeria is not getting enough money. Yesterday we asked the question, where are the dollars? Why is the NNPCL not bringing in the dollars? That was a question asked yesterday. Is that enough? Is that all we need? Now we're talking about taxation. There's a different tax policy coming in. Would that generate the kind of revenue needed to pay the living wage or even the increased minimum wage that the committee is likely to recommend? At the end of the day, it boils down to a different way of thinking, a different approach to handling the different challenges that we have in this country. Ayo, we all need to think differently about different things and begin to do differently too. And having said that, I would say, that's what we'll end the look at some of the dailies today. Summarise Daily will be back in a moment. Just stay with that.